Saviriyam karavavahi tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Welcome all of you again for the penultimate day. And now we are going to see very exciting stuff today. What is that like? Our body is indeed a kamadhenu, wish fulfiller. You have any wish, it fulfills it. It's designed like that. How, if you ask? I am going to explain it scientifically. It's quite possible. Unfortunately, we do not know how to use it. Just like all of us who have extremely sophisticated. Sorry for that. So, one minute, please. I'm sorry for that. Extremely sophisticated, say, phone we have, smartphone. But you know what? We just telephone, we just use WhatsApp, that's all. You don't use any of them, you just try. So many are there, but we use only WhatsApp and the other one is telephone. But we have that phone with us. In the same way, this instrument is so sophisticated that we do not know how to use it. That's very unfortunate, but it's a reality. Very real. And we think only that, nothing else other than phone and other than the WhatsApp. All right, now let us see. Yesterday I was telling that we have to drop. You know how our Purvajas were so intelligent. They used to say, whenever you go to Kashi, you have to drop something and come. What an exemplary way of teaching. You have to drop something. But these people, what they do, they didn't like bitter gourd. So they drop bitter gourd there and come here. That's not the way. That is not the way it is prescribed. Every day, our visit to Kashi should be there. And we have to drop one thing per day, I have told you. Sure, have a diary, keep it, and keep writing what you have left today. And that is a must and mandatory for old age. You should keep on dropping every day something or the other. That's point number one. All right. And number two, I was telling you, we have to change our connections in the brain. That is possible only when we sit quietly, withdraw to the mind, and observe the connections, what I have told. Please start doing regularly this one. Close your eyes and keep looking at basal ganglia, at AU center, and at the frontal lobe. I tell you, it does enormous good. This is second point we have to do. Now today, we have to move further. How can I say that this body is a wish-fulfilling one? How do I say it is a wish-fulfilling one? You will understand it. Now, you see, look here, and yes, look at this. There is a mela. In the mela, how do you identify a terrorist who has come in the guise of a Swami here. Can you find out? It is impossible. In our body also, I have told you there are 50 trillion cells belonging to us, 50 trillion cells belonging to bacteria, virus, etc. We are all combined family working together for the welfare, for the existence, for the life of this body. In that, if there is any foreign invader, how do we make out? It is impossible to make out because everyone looks alike. And cells cannot differentiate shape, cells cannot differentiate sound, and it is altogether a different thing. How do we identify? I tell you, our body is such a wonderful mechanism that it can identify even a microscopic foreigner entering our body. It's possible for that. And that kind of a system our body is possessing. What do we call this? This is the security of the body, and this security is given by immune system. So the immune system is basic system which keeps us safe, takes care of our security. At this immune system we are going to study, and in the bargain we will understand that how much grateful we should be the creation that we have been provided with everything that is possible. How is it possible to have everything, whatever we wish? It's possible because we are not a fixed machine. We are a machine of probability. What is this? Something very different, you see. That's all truth. Unfortunately, truth has not been taught or discussed among us very, very freely. Yeah. So now we will see how that is. For example, you must have seen, 1 minute. Okay. There is an atom. Atom is made up of nucleus and it is surrounded by electrons. We know that. Follow this. Electrons will not be sitting at one place. They will be moving fast, at speed of light. They will be moving. When they are moving, when we see a particular thing, we make it to stop. Otherwise, our brain cannot understand. Follow, it's a very critical point. For example, a person is moving. You take series of photos, and then when you take a still, it is just a still, it's not a movie. You know, our mind, our brain rather, takes only stills and watches stills, and in a movie, it learns watch. By the time you watch a still, the person has already moved forward. So that is how that works. Now we will come to that. In the whole body, when there are 100 trillion cells, in that 100 trillion cells are intercommunicated by a system what we call as signaling system. Signaling, it signals. Signal may be through chemicals. And like this, you see, there is a cell which gives out a chemical signal. That chemical signal goes to another cell. There is a response. If it doesn't go, there is no response. Every single cell in our body are interconnected. Once in the brain, we think something. Do you know what? Whole body is instantaneously informed about that particular thought. Whole body knows what is going on. If we are happy, every cell in our body is happy. If we are unhappy, miserable, every cell in our body is miserable. How? We have such a grand communicating system here. And that communicating system connects one with the other, not only in the body, with the outside world also it is being connected. When we see outside, for example, there is a clash going on, immediately there is a change in our body also. It's because of molecules coming from outside in the form of oxygen, in the form of glucose, that will change us. So we are living inside the world, we are part of the world. But what we are doing, we always extricate ourselves out of the world and we look at the world. That's unfortunate. For example, a liver cell is studying our body. It's inside the body and it has to study. Like that, we are inside the world, we have to study the world. What I am trying to say, whole body is interconnected through a telecommunication which is so fast that every cell is informed what is going on. Point number 2, whenever we decide on something, and that decision, if it is a pure decision, then it is being communicated all over the body and it is possible to achieve that. Why we are not achieving? It's because we have separated ourselves out of the universe. We are detached. We feel I am separate, universe is separate. Therefore, we are not able to achieve that. We will be able to achieve anything what we want. Again, don't ask me anything what we want means I want money, will I get money? Again, you have detached. That detachment should not be there. With him, what we say for the general good, including my body, everything is possible. It's possible to even cure disease by just making mind and be very strong about the decision. Why? Because of a strong communicating system. Look at that. There is a ligand, receptor, and there is a response. This is how. For example, I want to be happy. Immediately, all over the body, the chemicals are distributed. If you have set everything right, automatically we have to become happy. But we have what we say, have so many obstacles created. That is the problem, you see. This is how signaling cells connect one with the other. A cell can target itself like that. So in the bloodstream, endocrines go and get connected. Now look at that. There is a natural killer cell roaming in our cell, in our body, and that will be going and checking every cell. Do you belong to me or not? Do you belong to this body or not? It checks. And once it belongs to the body, it leaves it. Once it doesn't belong to the body, what it checks? It checks the Aadhaar card. You know, Aadhaar card, like that. Every cell has got its own self-print. It checks the self-print. And if self-print belongs to the self, the body, then it leaves it. Otherwise, it kills it. We call it natural killer cell. This is how we are protected. Otherwise, every moment we see from outside, in the form of bacteria, virus, we are being invaded. So, what happens in the meanwhile? We are sanitizing. When we sanitize too much, we are killing useful bacteria also. That is the reason why those people who come from America, they will have usually gastrointestinal trouble when they come to India. Because they have been in that atmosphere, bacteria-free atmosphere. When they come here, they will not be able to adjust. In fact, that kind of a thing may be good also. Why? Because that gives us immunity. These days, our immunity is reduced because we are becoming bacteria-free. That is the reason why the same water, a ox or a cow or some drinks, nothing happens to it. If we drink, immediately we will have problems. So it is because of our immunity. In fact, we had the same immunity as what that animals have, but we have become more and more specialized and clean. That doesn't mean that we should not be clean, but we should also know it is essential to live normally in a group. Earlier, father, mother, grandfather, relatives, all used to be there. There used to be a sort of herd immunity for everything. Now, these days, exclusively, we have got only husband, wife, one child. And this has got a lot to say about the immunity. Now, in the immunity, if we give more importance to the immune structures, then it becomes a police state. We call it autoimmunity. The police state it becomes, and these autoimmune disorders are very common. Okay. What is cancer then? The more cell divisions, more chances of cancer. Simple mathematics. Do you know the smokers daily they smoke and there is some abrasion or the other in the lung and therefore there is repeatedly repairs going on. That is the reason why they are more prone to cancer. So now in old age, what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to not to smoke. If there is any smoking habit for anybody, they have to immediately stop that. Number two, we have to have a diary and write in that diary what is that we want to achieve. For example, I want to be happy. We have already seen. Then regularly in meditative cycle, if you were to have that particular thing would continue and is distributed all over the body. Look at this. One Michankov did a simple experiment and he saw some small cells moving under a microscope. Then he thought, what are these cells? And then finally, he knew that particular cells were immunity cells, fighting the immunity of the body. And Paul Ehrlich found an antibody. What is an antibody? Antibody is the one which attacks the cells of foreign origin. Now comes the virus, serial killers. Viruses are serial killers. They have got their own receptors. And we should have antibody for that. If we do not have antibody for that, then they thrive. All right. What is a retrovirus? A retrovirus is something which changes our DNA. It rewrites the script of our DNA. And HIV is one of the retroviruses. Reverse transcriptase, you say. So now, first, they worked on chicken and they found bursa fabricius where some special cells were found. They called it B cells. We also have got B cells and T cells. What are these cells? These are lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are the immune cells, fighting cells. Bone marrow is the source of human B cells. And these cells go into thymus. They learn the trade there, how to work. Then they become generals. It's a training school, thymus. And B cells produce, and they produce the antibodies. Human cells learn, but it is difficult to teach these intellectuals. Now, vaccines are internally induced responses. We develop antibodies inside, all right. Now, what I would like to, before that, say is, one second, please. Yeah. Yes, I would like to explain something about that before I go to that. Look at this. Your DNA is not your destiny. What do you mean by that? Your DNA is not your destiny. Your DNA means we think everything is written in DNA, and that DNA is responsible for our future or for our actions, for our destiny. But the new science says, epigenetics, that DNA is not responsible, we are responsible. How is that we are responsible? Whatever our thought process is there, whatever our interaction with the external world is there, that is being overwritten or being utilized to get the DNA information out of it. Every information is not being presented outside. Like that, look here, there is a stem cell. Now this stem cell can become any of the stems, any of the other neurons or any of the other structures, but there is a signal which tells it to become only nervous tissue. Then another signal to make it spinal cord, a third signal to don't become another cell, become spinal cord only. It becomes a spinal cord neuron. So everything depends on signals, and signals come from genes. This is where I want to start. Signal means information comes from genes. However, there is another information which can override the information coming from genes. How is that? Look at this. There is a long gene, and now gene that is being wound round, and part of the DNA, it may not be made accessible for its information to come out. Then it is being hidden, or some part of it is exposed. So this way, the DNA is controlled by us. Whenever we have a different thought process, corresponding to the thought process, DNA gives out its protein. Now we know here is the nucleus containing chromosome. The end of it is called telomere. What is telomere? Telomere, we know laces, shoelaces. End of shoelaces, there is some thickening, glue-like thing. It is thickened. Why? So that this division will not go to telomere. It is telomere which controls our end of our life division. It goes on reducing. Depending on the thickness of the telomere, our age is decided. If telomere becomes thin, we are aged. If telomere is still thick, then our age is still there. And it is directly related to happiness. So if we are happy, it will see that cell divisions are not too many, telomere is preserved, and we live longer. So how do we live long? By being happy, we live long. Next, see, this is a normal atom. Normal atom has got electron. If one electron in one orbit is lost, then it becomes a free radical. Here I would like to tell you one simple point. You see, when we are scared, when we are afraid, or when we are under stress. When we are under stress, what happens? Mitochondria works more. The more free radicals are produced. What are free radicals? Free radicals are the atoms which have lost one of their electrons. Free radicals are the atoms which have lost one of their outer electrons. Once electron is lost, what happens? It becomes very aggressive. It goes on looking for another atom, electron, and pulls that electron for it. And that is how mutation occurs. So who is responsible for the mutation? It is stress. So what the stress will do? it will increase the job in mitochondria or in other chemical reactions. What happens when that is increased there? The outer electron is removed. When outer electron is removed, it becomes active. It goes on hitting any atom it comes across and tries to take that particular atom to it. And that is how changes in DNA occurs. And that change in DNA is responsible for cancer. So more we have stress, it can lead to cancer. As age advances, we have to try to teach our brain to sit quietly and start thinking, I am happy, I am relaxed, I am relaxed. Then what happens? All over the body, the communication goes. Communication is there all over the body. And finally, body gets synchronized. Now look at that. When we take antioxidants, for example, fruit is an antioxidant, and that will donate one electron to this free radical and keeps it quiet. Hey, come on, become quiet. So that deleterious effects of free radical will not continue. So what we have to do now, eat vegetarian food, eat raw vegetables and fruits, so they act like antioxidant. What it will do, it provides extra electron to free radical and neutralizes that. Otherwise, free radical will go on spreading and causes a havoc, and it may cause cancer too. What is that which forms free radical? For example, ultraviolet radiation, air pollution, inflammation, smoking, all these, including mitochondria, whatever, they are all called DNA damage due to free radicals. So free radicals are produced in the mitochondria. Why in the first place free radicals are there? If free radicals were not to be there, we would have been very happy. No, it's not like that. Free radicals have to be present because they help the body to fight viruses, bacteria. Free radicals will go attack viruses and remove their electron, and they will annul them, or they will make them what we say non-functional. That is how it works. Now aging. However, aging is there. Telomere. Aging, I have shown you end of the chromosome is telomere, mitochondria. Then there is oxidative stress, means increased free radicals. Tissue gets dysfunction. Then finally tissue dies. This is how old age comes. All right. After this, can you see this wonderful thing? When we see a neuron, mouse brain, it is like that. And when we see the universe, it is like that. Is there any difference? See, both of them appear same. So what is in the microcosm is there in the macrocosm also at the same level. Something very, very attractive, very stupendous is happening here. What is seen at the micro level is there at the macro level too. You see, there is a brain cell, and the universe also is like that. This is birth of a cell, this is the death of a star. Won't you see? They are similar. This is the eye, this is nebula. There is comparison between our body and also the universe. Now, having done that, we will come back to the next one, what we were talking. One, I will get back to that. Yes. Let us come to immunity. When we come to immunity, there are two types of cells. What are they? B cells, T cells. What are B cells? They come from bone marrow. What are T cells? They come from thymus, and they will be fighting. So now what do they fight? They fight the invaders coming from outside. T cells look for infected cells and infection. B cells have got antibodies. Everything it is so great that whatever we are exposed to are being recorded in the genes and in the immunity cells in such a stupendous way. See, there is one complex called major histocompatibility complex, and T cells identify whether the cell is self or not. If self, if belongs to me, there is a MHSC seal there. That is a fingerprint of immune system. Now, this is an unmatched telecommunication system that we have got in our body. This telecommunication system, once we think something, that is being spread all over the body through the signals and changes the whole body. What happens if we sit for meditation and if we start looking at the brain, what we told has made a hard connection. When we are looking at that, automatically those hard connections which we have made are going to being completely or slowly effaced. And later, when we replace them with positive thoughts, the whole body is going to change. And if we are angry, we have to take a notebook and write. If we are angry, immediately out of 100 years, minus 1 minute, we have to reduce. Every time we are angry, 1 minute of our life is being reduced. This is almost this one, because all over the body, it has got effects on the cell. We know there is a shloka, dhyayato vishyan pumsa sangasteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodo vijayate, krodat bhavati sammoha sammohat sputi vibramaha, sputi brahmsha buddhinasho buddhinasho pranashyati. Once we like something, we are attached. So where is that attachment is seen? Now you are able to understand. Amygdala. Amygdala is being a fry, but in the center, what we call happiness center, we get attached. Then when we don't get that, amygdala will become angry. And then that is being recorded in the hippocampus memory. And that is distributed all over the body. All over the body, we are a changed person. For example, a new thought comes to us. Our body is a changed one, because the whole thought is distributed all over the body, and body completely changes. So like that, once any foreign invader is there, microbe, there is a cell called dendritic cell, which goes, tests whether it is foreign, belongs to somebody else or us, and then it tastes it, whether it is normal or not. See, then there are monocytes. What they do, they will invade and they will consume them. So that kind of cells also are there. Then there are cells called neutrophils. And this is fastest. They will go, they enter even interior and see which cell is normal, which has abnormal, and they completely destroy the neutrophils. They are very fast moving, rapid reaction force. They come from marrow, circulate the blood. Sometimes they dip into this tissue. They identify the culprit. Like that, there are eosinophils. They are granules, they will be there. And they also find the parasitic infections, like that. Basophils, they are, they are like bombs. When there is a foreign invader, there is an explosion, and that will kill it after taking it. So there are natural killer cells, which I have told you. Now, whenever these immune cells come in contact with foreign cell, immediately a chemical is released, which we call pyrogen, interleukin. Therefore, we have our fever, temperature going up. In hypothalamus especially, there is a center. Now, coming back to this immune system, our body has an immune system which can fight the foreign invader and also bring different cells together. For example, a killed virus is added, virus is killed, then it is added to the living virus. And this will in turn kill the living virus. And this is called interferon. Interferon means it interferes with the living cell when dead cell is added to it. And this is there working in our body, and doctors give this to prevent the viral infection. Like that. And that will change the genes also. Now infected cells produce interferon. Then all the chemicals which are produced here are called cytokines. So in general plan in emergency, what is how our body acts? Dendritic cell inform T cells. They start giving cytokines. Antibodies produced by B cells. Then there are natural killers. Then interleukin, fever, interferon kills. This is how the whole system works in our body. It not only works to kill the invader, it connects different parts of the body together. And that is the reason why these signal molecules are extremely important to keep us alive and to make us as one unit. We work as a unit, this one. Not only we work as a unit, we are part of it in the universe also. And we are getting connected at every stage. So interleukins also, a lot are there, T cell growth and all that. The normal, when we are relaxing and then all, this is the immune system which induces homeostasis. There are monoclonal antibodies. What are they? I wanted to tell you this in connection with coronavirus. Monoclonal antibodies means antibodies are produced, then antibodies are produced in large scale outside the body artificially. And these are called monoclonal antibodies. And when they are given, they can be given to coronavirus. But we do not know what are the side effects because they are being manufactured outside the physical body. And vaccine is different. Vaccine where antibodies are produced inside the body. Monoclonal antibodies are produced. These are very exciting new drugs now, monoclonal antibodies. Okay. Now coming back to epigenetics. What is epigenetics? The epigenetics, the gene is there. Gene has got a covering, like a sleeve, like our sleeve covers, a gene has got a covering. Gene gives out whatever that is recorded here, or to get the new proteins, it acts, but the outer sleeve protects it. And our environment acts on the outer sleeve of the gene, and it may allow a particular protein to be presented, particular protein to be avoided. This is possible to be done. This is how it happens. Look at here, this is what I was telling. A particular protein here becomes inaccessible. So it is possible for us to think and make it at the genetic level. How is it? Say, I am happy. Anything that was causing unhappiness, what happens? That has being made inaccessible, even at the genetic level. That is how it acts. And whatever that we think it is possible, and whatever we say that I have to become like this, then in that case, that particular part of this one is exposed. And this is a new science, what we call epigenetics. So it is possible to control our body, to control our, what we say, thought process also, and to change the whole reaction. Everything is possible to do, provided we focus on that. So how do we focus? It is possible through meditation. And when we sit in meditation, naturally, the first thing what we do is we do not move any part of the body. When we do not move any part of the body, that itself is a condition there. And then next, we observe. When we observe, when we go to the very, very subtle thing, the space, because we are all made up of space, as we know. So when I say, say we have to do exercise, that's at the physical level, exercise. We have to do swimming, physical level. But at the root of the level, when we go to the root, that is where we can change the molecules. We can change the atoms itself at that level of the root. So that change, what we can bring about, is called epigenetics. So we have control over our genes, and it is possible to change our structure. It is possible to modify our behavior itself by proper meditation, by proper interaction. It's quite possible. And that is what is this modern science says. So same thing we can now compare with our spirituality. So what is that we have tried to learn now? We have learned that whatever has been already recorded in our physical brain, whatever that is completely been recorded, we act according to that, what we call as autopilot. We just go along with that. Now, what we are supposed to do is, we have to discriminately look at it. How do we do discriminately look at it? I have told you there is frontal lobe. In the frontal lobe, there is discrimination. Why discrimination comes? Because of mind interface with the brain, and this discrimination tells what is permanent, what is impermanent. We can, by removing impermanent by the permanent, finally we arrive at a stage that only permanent thing that is available is me, it is I. It is I which is permanent. And when we stick to that and sit in the meditation, then slowly whole connections in our body through the signal system, every body cells will change. Through epigenetic mechanism, our genetic characters also are properly expressed. In this way, it is possible to change our lives now, at least. And it is possible to change our brain connections. We call it neuroplasticity. By means of neuroplasticity, we can change the brain as we like. Why I told you it is Kamadhenu? Kamadhenu because if we think I have to become healthy, we can become healthy. If you think I have to become happy, we can become happy. We will become happy. But very definition of happiness, we have to see properly. If we think, if we have in our mind already recorded, by possessing objects is happiness, and that happiness is basically a wrong entity. And that is the reason why we will never be able to achieve that. We will be able to achieve if we identify ourselves as the part of the entire creation. Like one cell in our body is entire body. And when it is expressed, an epiphenomena, as an epiphenomena, our name has come. In fact, name is not there. I have told you in the first class itself, there is no name. If we say name, we cannot part name from our body. If I say hand, hand is hand, separate. But if I give hand, I give skin, I give bones. It's not a hand, it's just a name for this. Then you take the skin, there are tissue. It is made up of cells. It's made up of connective tissue. If you go on doing like that, actually the name itself is a misnomer. You name anything, that's wrong. But that is how our brain understands. Our brain is created in such a way that moving thing, it takes a still and sees it that still only, but in the meanwhile, whole the world has moved forward. That our brain will not recognize. For example, I give you a small example. If I touch the foot, the sensation going from there to the brain, then you have to understand what it is. It takes some millions of seconds, may not be, some seconds it takes, millions of seconds. When it takes that, but it arranges itself, it understands what is that, it is a touch, whether it's good touch or not, it will not. In the meanwhile, once you touch, immediately we will understand. How is it possible? It's possible because our brain reads everything, understands everything, and then presets the time as though it is happening now. It means whatever that is happening has happened few million milliseconds before. They have done a beautiful experiment. In that experiment, it is an MRI one, and outside technician will be there, and they ask the patient, if I ask you to read or write, whatever you can do that. You know what? If he wants to press the red, the patient, about 2 seconds before only, the outer technician knows whether he is going to press red or blue. How he can come to know? Because he will see in MRI, already there is work going on inside the brain, and then that brain decides which color has to be produced. At that time, he presses. So even before he decides, there is already work going on in the brain. They have told this in BBC also, it had come. So what do we mean by that? Whatever brain tells is something which has already happened. So how do we take this? We take this body as an instrument which can be controlled by us in a way we want it that way. How we can do it? It is possible if we focus on that and if we have belief in that. This is where belief system works. Whenever we have belief, those system epigenetics, those chemicals and those receptors will go finally to a particular cell, go inside into the sleeve of the gene or DNA, and will make a particular quality to surface. That is how it is possible to change everything. It is possible to be happy. But our brain is clustered with so many thoughts already solidified. It becomes very difficult to get rid of that. That is why we have to struggle. How do we struggle? I have told already, we can struggle by one simple method of paroxysm of happiness. What is paroxysm of happiness? Sudden happiness, for no reason. Paroxysm, a sudden happiness. I'm happy. Suddenly you become happy. So is it possible? It's very much possible. So did you try yesterday to become happy like that? Like people who have got some sort of an attack. We should have an attack of happiness suddenly. Oh, that is called paroxysm of happiness. You can write down, I have given the new word, paroxysm of happiness. A sudden happiness for no reason. It is possible. And when we develop that, and suddenly we forget everything, and I am happy, I can do this. I will go and meet him and say, I'm sorry, now I am all right. You know, these kind of revolutionary things in our life, if we suddenly take them up, it is possible to change our outlook. It is possible to change our genes. It is possible to change the quality output of the genes and can change the whole health of the human body. Our health is in our hand. Just like a person, he was supposed to be a very, very intelligent person. Another one was a shrewd and scheming fellow. He held the neck of a parrot in his hand and asked the intelligent fellow, tell me whether this parrot is alive or dead. And if this fellow tells it's alive, he squeezes the neck. If he says it is dead, he releases it. So it's delicate. So he told, you know what did he say? He told, the life of the parrot is in your hand. So our life is in our hand. It is possible to change the outlook. It is possible to change, to rewrite our life. We can rewrite by changing the connections in the brain, and then by system, what we call a signaling system, connecting throughout the body and make all of them synchronize with ease. And that is life, that is joy, that is what we are going to have if we have belief in this. The belief is a must. If we have belief in this, we will gain that because it has scientific background. It has scientific way of looking at things. So outcome of today's this one is our whole body in completely all our cells are interconnected. And we think it is interconnected with chemicals. No, it is even interconnected with electromagnetic connection. Every cell has electromagnetic connection. You know, in electromagnetism, everything moves at the speed of light. So it is possible to bring everything into the connection, into one single whole. And I have shown you pictures. What is here is the same as what is there outside. So we can have, for example, we can go and see a pale blue dot. A pale blue dot. You just type in the internet and see. There is a small dot. I will show you tomorrow. A small dot, and that dot is taken by one spacecraft when it was going beyond Earth. And that small pale blue dot, the whole 7 billion population, everything is there. And that appears huge when we are near it. When we are far away, it is a pale blue dot. And all our emotions, all our love, all our interactions, fights, everything is there on that one pale blue dot. Like that. From where we see is important. If we see from close quarters, it appears to be huge. If we detach, look from a distance, it becomes not so difficult. Just as the problem, our problem is very serious, but neighbor's problem is not that serious because they are detached. Like that, if we go beyond that, still detached. So we can live with detached attachment. With that detached attachment means you are living, but inside we are detached. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tektva karotiha lipyatena papena padmapatram ivambhasa. Finally, what is that we should know? I tell you the very simple point is, this is hand. All of you seeing this is hand. And this hand we see. But there is something we are not seeing. What is that something that we are not seeing? It is light. Without light, we would not have seen the hand. We always see the hand, but we do not see the light. By practice, by meditation, by striving, by complete, what we say, deep understanding, if we can intellectually separate the light from the hand, finish, we have achieved that. We are like light here, not the hand. But it is very difficult to separate the light from the hand. You cannot scrape away the light. It is so well connected. It's reflecting. But it's connected. But it is only connection. And if we can identify with the light, then we have identified with ourselves. Then the whole hand is not just a moving, circulating electrons, fast moving electrons. That is all that. But this one is what Upanishad says. You identify with the light, leave the hand. Identify with I and leave the world. Then we are very close to that. By this, what happens? We have aged gracefully. We have aged gracefully when we have reached that stage of happiness, that stage of feeling that I have lived a fulfilling life. Let us see tomorrow, the ultimate last day, some connections between this and what we should do and what we should not do, and finally conclude that. And if there are any questions, you are free to ask. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, then. Purnama Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So if you have any question, you can chat. Somebody is asking a good question. Cytokine storm has been discussed due to COVID. Follow carefully, please. Cytokine is nothing but a messenger, what we call as a chemical signal. A chemical signal released by these immune cells is cytokine. And this cytokine, when this becomes a huge storm because so much of cytokine is released from all immune cells, that becomes a big, huge storm, what we call a cytokine storm. Antibody genes are not like antibody. Could you show the slide with antibody? Genes are not like adequate. If you are interested, I can tell that. You see, antibody means antibody is a surface receptor. On the surface, there is a receptor. I have talked about receptors. This particular receptor has written on it the code, let us take like that, by which it can directly go and hit the enemy. Like, you know, steam propelled some in in war and other things they use, you know. And like that, whenever they use, this particular one goes like a missile, a guided missile, antibody, and will go and hit the antigen. I repeat again, antigen is the chemical released by the enemy who comes. That is the chemical signal of the enemy. That is being understood by the immune cell and takes out, reads out in its inbuilt long list, thousands, millions of them are there, and tries to pull out the appropriate antibody and paste it on the surface. And now this will go and hit the antigen and neutralizes it. That is how it works. So antibody, what is antibody? Antibody is a medicine to kill the antigen. For example, coronavirus, it has its own identity. Its identity is called antigen. Everyone has their own identity. Human being, we also have got an identity. What is that? HLA, human leukocyte antigen. My human leukocyte antigen is different from other person, but human, there is one common thing. And HLA, if for example, any organ has to be transplanted, this HLA matching they do. In HLA matching, maximum number should be matched. Then only they give. Otherwise, transplantation is not possible. So HLA is our self-stamp there. Self-hypnosis or hypnotherapy, what is it? Exactly, it is possible. We can hypnotize ourselves, change our thinking, and by that, it is possible to change the whole system in our body, and we can get it back to our level, our thinking. That is how even hypnotists, they work like that. So it is possible to do self-hypnosis, change the very structure, the very communication in our body. And if we think we are free from disease, we are free from disease. That is how placebo acts. And if we think we have something, that is what we call nocebo. Yeah, there are something which I have not shown because I just wanted to finish little quickly. That was my problem. Otherwise, they wanted to see that. If you are interested, I can tell you about that in detail because it's a very big detail, this one. And I will also suggest a book to read later. If there is any one. So tomorrow we will conclude that way. If there is any question, you are free to ask. So, no, neuroplasticity is not limited to any age, please. You can change anything. I am the example. I am the example for you, please. In the year 1987 or so, I developed sort of anomia. I used to forget names of the people, though I was supposed to give lectures. And then I thought I am going to lose my memory. And I was hypertensive. I became diabetic. At when? 87. I thought I am going to die. And also I had a stomach ulcer, gastric ulcer. I thought I would die within 2 or 3 years. What I did was, I just thought, anyhow, I am going to die. Let me know what it is, and then I can die. So I started reading Bhagavad Gita and all that, by hearted everything, went on doing, went on getting intimately associated with them. Finally, what is the result? 2020, I am here and I am talking to you. Sometimes it is possible that this one is not that's sharp. I know my known weaknesses, but still I am able to manage, you see, with all that. Since 85, this one, I am able to manage everything. How is it possible? How many years? 20, 33 years. After 33 years taking antihypertensive medicine, diabetic medicine, and then this one, and my memory is still good because I can rehearse forward and backwards complete Bhagavad Gita. I can tell many of Upanishads. So it means, so use the brain, otherwise you will lose it. Neuroplasticity is possible at any moment. It is possible. Alzheimer's, before it comes, you attack it. You attack it by being very active, by learning a new language, learn one sloka of anything every day, be happy, always express happiness to others. When others see, they should be happy at looking at you. Never be glum. It is possible. It's proved beyond doubt that neuroplasticity is possible. You can change. You can prevent Alzheimer's. You can prevent Parkinson's also. Parkinson's also is the one which affects many. You know, Parkinson means tremor at rest. There will be tremor at rest, and some emotional problems also will come. All these it is possible to beat, provided we believe in neuroplasticity and work on that. Any other question? So well, thank you very much then. Shall we go off then? If you have any question, I am happy there to answer from our. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Tomorrow we conclude. And then on Sunday, Ram Mohanji will take spiritual perspective of this. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.